Skadi, the formidable goddess of winter and the hunt, is one of the most striking figures in Norse mythology. Her tale of vengeance and marriage reveals her strength, independence, and unyielding determination. Born of the Jotnar, Skadi is the daughter of the giant Thjazi, whose death at the hands of the Aesir drives her to Asgard in search of justice. What unfolds is a story that highlights her fierce will, her unique demands, and her eventual transformation into a goddess of both wilderness and balance. Skadi's story begins with the tragic death of her father, Thjazi, a giant known for his cunning and power. Thjazi's death at the hands of the Aesir sets the stage for one of Norse mythology's most compelling tales of vengeance, resilience, and compromise. As the daughter of a powerful Jotun, Skadi is deeply affected by her father's demise, and her response showcases her courage, independence, and unyielding determination to seek justice. Thjazi's death. Thjazi meets his end during the rescue of Idun, the goddess who guards the golden apples that grant the gods their immortality. Thjazi had kidnapped Idun, luring her away from Asgard with the help of Loki, who, true to his mischievous nature, played both sides of the conflict when the Aesir discovered that Idun was missing. And with her, their source of youth and vitality, they forced Loki to retrieve her. Transforming Idun into a nut, Loki escaped Thjazi's domain and carried her back to Asgard. Thjazi, in the form of an eagle, pursued them. But upon reaching the walls of Asgard, the gods lit a massive fire that engulfed him, ending his life. Though the Aesir celebrated their victory and the return of Idun, the death of Thjazi set the stage for Skadi's entry into the story, Skadi's vengeance. Upon learning of her father's death, Skadi, clad in armor and weapons, journeyed to Asgard to demand retribution. Her presence in Asgard was striking. Here was a Jotun woman, standing tall and fearless before the gods, asserting her right to justice. Skadi's boldness demonstrated her strength and independence, qualities that would define her legacy as a goddess of winter and the hunt. Rather than escalating the conflict into open war, the Aesir, recognizing the legitimacy of her grievance, sought to make amends. This decision highlights the Norse values of honor and reparative justice, where even the most powerful gods acknowledged their responsibility and sought to restore balance. The negotiations between Skadi and the Aesir reflect a blend of diplomacy and respect, as both parties work to resolve the conflict without further bloodshed. Njord's compromise. As part of the settlement, the Aesir agreed to compensate Skadi with the marriage to one of the gods. However, they imposed an unusual condition. She could only choose her husband by looking at the gods' feet, without seeing their faces. Hoping to select Balder, the most handsome and beloved of the gods, Skadi chose the feet she believed were the most beautiful. To her surprise, they belonged not to Balder, but to Njord, the Vanir god of the sea and wealth. The marriage between Skadi and Njord was a union of opposites, symbolic of the balance and compromise often required to maintain harmony. Skadi, as a goddess of the mountains and wilderness, embodied the rugged, icy beauty of the natural world. Njord, by contrast, represented the sea's vastness and the prosperity it brings. Their union was as much a reconciliation of elemental forces as it was a personal compromise. Despite their efforts, the marriage between Skadi and Njord was fraught with challenges. They agreed to split their time between Skadi's home in the snowy mountains of Thrymheim and Njord's coastal domain of Jotun. However, their vastly different preferences made this arrangement untenable. Skadi found the cries of seabirds unbearable, while Njord struggled with the biting cold and isolation of the mountains. Ultimately, the two decided to separate, each returning to their respective realms. This resolution highlights Skadi's independence and her refusal to compromise her identity for the sake of convenience. Her willingness to leave an incompatible marriage reflects her strength and self-awareness, qualities that resonate with her role as a goddess of resilience and self-reliance. The legacy of Skadi's compromise. Skadi's journey to Asgard and her marriage to Njord illustrate the interplay of conflict and resolution in Norse mythology. While her father's death ignited her quest for justice, the eventual compromise with the Aesir allowed her to transition from vengeance to integration, becoming a goddess in her own right. Her story reflects the importance of balance between cunning and bragging forceps, between between honor and pragmatism, and between individuality and connection. Through her bold actions and her ultimate choices, Skadi emerges as a figure of strength and autonomy. The marriage of Skadi, the goddess of winter and the hunt, to Jord, the god of the sea, epitomizes the clash of opposites in Norse mythology. This union, formed as part of the Aesir's compensation for the death of Skadi's father, Thjazi, was destined for conflict. Skadi, a fierce and independent goddess, was deeply tied to the cold, rugged peaks of her mountain home, while Njord was a deity of the open sea, embodying its fluidity, warmth, and prosperity. Their marriage was a struggle not only between two vastly different environments, but also between two deeply ingrained ways of life, values, and desires. The mountains. Skadi's sanctuary. Skadi's domain was the icy wilderness of Thrumheim, where the snow-covered mountains stood as her sanctuary. The solitude of this landscape mirrored her independent and self-reliant spirit. As a huntress, she thrived in the harsh conditions of her homeland, where the howling winds and frostbitten air were not challenges but comforts. The mountains represented more than a physical home for Skadi. They symbolized her identity and her connection to the primal forces of nature. Skadi's relationship with the mountains highlighted her resilience and strength. She did not simply exist in this harsh environment, she flourished. Her life in Thrumheim reflected her ability to find beauty and purpose in the wild, untamed aspects of the natural world. Her love for the mountains was not something she could set aside, even for the sake of her marriage. Jord's realm of prosperity. Jord's realm, in stark contrast, was the bustling, life-giving world of the sea. As the veneer god of wealth, fishing, and seafaring, Jord was deeply tied to the ebb and flow of the tides. Noain, his home, was a coastal paradise where the rhythmic sound of waves and the cries of seabirds defined the landscape. For Jord, the sea was a place of abundance and connection, where trade and travel flourished and life was sustained by its bounty. To Jord, the sea was a source of vitality and prosperity. Its constant motion and vast expanse reflected his expansive, outward-looking nature. However, the same qualities that made the sea his sanctuary made it alien to Skadi, who longed for the stillness and solitude of her mountains. The bustling activity and ceaseless noise of Noain clashed with her need for the silence and serenity of the wilderness. The struggle for harmony. The marriage between Skadi and Jord was a union of compromise, yet their differences proved insurmountable. They agreed to spend equal time in each other's realms, 9 nights in Thrumheim and 9 nights in Noain, however. This arrangement soon revealed the depths of their incompatibility. In Noain, Skadi found the cries of seabirds unbearable, their incessant noise a stark contrast to the quiet of her mountains. The endless motion of the waves left her restless, unable to find peace in the ceaseless rhythm of the sea. Jord, in turn, struggled to adapt to the biting cold and isolation of Thrumheim. The snow-covered peaks, though majestic, were alien to his warm and abundant nature. The harshness of the mountains combined with their stillness and solitude left him longing for the vibrant activity of the coast. Despite their efforts, neither could fully embrace the other's world, and the strain of these differences led to their eventual separation. A union of opposites. The marriage of Skadi and Jord is often interpreted as a symbolic union of opposites, mountains and sea, solitude and community, cold and warm. Their struggles reflect the challenges of reconciling vastly different perspectives and values. In many ways, their union mirrors the broader themes of Norse mythology, where the tension between opposing forces drives the cycles of creation and destruction, harmony and discord. Their eventual separation, far from being a failure, highlights the importance of staying true to one's nature. Skadi's decision to return to her mountains, and Jord's to his sea underscores the Norse value of individual identity and the understanding that not all unions are meant to last. Their story teaches that compromise, while noble, is not always the path to harmony, and that sometimes the greatest strength lies in recognizing and honoring one's differences. Skadi's return to solitude. After leaving Jord, Skadi resumed her life in the mountains, embracing her role as a goddess of winter in the wilderness. This return to her true self reaffirmed her independence and her connection to the untamed forces of nature. Her story serves as a reminder of the importance of self-awareness and the courage to follow one's own path. even when it means letting go of relationships that no longer serve us. The legacy of Skadi and Njord's struggle. The tale of Skadi and Njord's marriage resonates with modern audiences as a story of personal integrity and the complexities of relationships. Skadi, the formidable goddess of winter and the hunt, embodies the untamed beauty and harsh resilience of the natural world. As a huntress, she is deeply connected to the wilderness, her domain encompassing the snow-covered mountains, icy peaks, and dense forests of the Norse landscape. Her role as a protector of the wild reflects her reverence for the cycles of nature, her independence, and her fierce guardianship of the untamed forces that sustain life. Skadi's identity as a huntress is integral to her character and her mythology. She is often depicted with a bow in hand, her sharp eyes scanning the icy terrain for her prey. The hunt is not just a skill for Skadi, it is a way of life, a means of survival and connection to the primal forces of the natural world. Her icy domain, Thrymheim, serves as the perfect backdrop for her pursuits, its rugged landscape reflecting her strength, endurance, and adaptability. Unlike other deities associated with abundance or fertility, Skadi's connection to nature is rooted in its harsh and untamed aspects. She thrives in the unforgiving cold of winter, a season that demands resilience and resourcefulness through her role as a huntress. Skadi symbolizes the balance between life and death, predator and prey, and the harmony required to maintain the natural order. As a goddess tied to the wild, Skadi also serves as its protector. Her fierce independence and reverence for nature position her as a guardian of the untamed world, standing against those who would seek to exploit or destroy it. Skadi's connection to the wild is not one of domination, but of respect and balance. She understands the intricate relationships that sustain ecosystems and the importance of preserving these delicate dynamics. Skadi's role as a protector of the wilderness also highlights her connection to the Jotnar, the giants who often represent the primal and chaotic forces of nature in Norse mythology. While the Aesir and Vanir are typically associated with civilization and order, Skadi bridges the gap between these divine races, bringing the untamed strength of the Jotnar into harmony with the ordered realms of the gods. This duality makes her a unique and complex figure, capable of navigating both worlds while remaining true to her essence. Symbol of independence and resilience. As a huntress, Skadi represents self-reliance and independence. Her life in the wilderness requires her to depend on her own skills and instincts, qualities that resonate with her broader role as a goddess of resilience and determination. Skadi's story reflects the Norse ideal of perseverance in the face of adversity, her ability to thrive in the harshest conditions serving as an inspiration to mortals and gods alike. Skadi's independence is also evident in her decision to leave her marriage to Njord. The incompatibility between her love for the mountains and his affinity for the sea highlights her unwavering commitment to her true self. Return to Thrymheim after their separation reinforces her identity as a huntress and protector of the wild, a goddess who finds strength and solace in the solitude of her icy domain. Skadi's influence in modern contexts and modern interpretations. Skadi is often seen as a symbol of environmental stewardship and the importance of living in harmony with nature. Her role as a protector of the wilderness resonates with her efforts to preserve the natural world, reminding us of the value of balance and respect for the ecosystems that sustain life. Skadi's connection to winter and the hunt also serves as a metaphor for resilience, inspiring those who face challenges to draw strength from the harsh yet beautiful aspects of life. As a goddess who embodies both the beauty and the brutality of the wild, Skadi remains a powerful figure in the Norse pantheon. Her role as a huntress and protector of the wilderness speaks to the deep connection between humans and nature, reminding us of the importance of living in harmony with the world around us. Legacy of Skadi as a huntress. Skadi's legacy as a huntress and protector of the wild endures as a reminder of the strength found in independence, the resilience required to navigate life's challenges, and the beauty of nature in its rawest form. Her story inspires us to respect the balance of the natural world and to embrace the wildness within ourselves, finding power and peace in the untamed forces that shape our lives. In the frostbitten peaks and snow-clad forests of Skadi's domain, ice becomes more than a natural element. It transforms into a symbol of endurance, resilience, and the unyielding power of nature. As the goddess of winter and the hunt, Skadi embodies these qualities, her connection to ice reflecting her strength, independence, and ability to thrive in even the harshest conditions. Her story and her realm remind us that endurance is not simply survival, but a fierce and graceful adaptation to life's challenges. The unforgiving cold of Skadi's icy domain mirrors her indomitable spirit in Thrymheim. Her mountain home, the blizzards roar, the snow deepens, and the air is sharp with frost, yet Skadi flourishes. These conditions, which might drive others to despair, fuel her vitality and symbolize her ability to withstand adversity. The ice that forms her world is unyielding, much like the goddess herself who refuses to compromise her values or her independence, even when faced with immense loss or the challenges of a mismatched marriage. Ice, in its solid and enduring form, also represents stability and clarity. Like the frozen peaks of her realm, Skadi stands as an immovable force, a goddess who remains steadfast in her identity and purpose. Her resilience becomes a metaphor for finding strength in the face of life's most demanding trials, teaching us that even in the coldest, darkest moments, beauty and power can emerge. The power of endurance. Skadi's ability to endure is not limited to physical survival. It is also an emotional and spiritual strength. After the death of her father, Thjazi, Skadi's journey to Asgard to seek justice demonstrates her determination and courage. She does not crumble under the weight of grief, but channels it into action, standing before the gods to demand reparations. This act of resilience underscores her unwavering will and her refusal to be silenced or dismissed. Her separation from Jord too reflects her endurance, rather than remaining in a union that stifles her spirit. She chooses to return to the icy wilderness of Thrymheim where she can thrive on her own terms. This decision highlights her self-awareness and her strength to pursue a life aligned with her true nature, even when it means walking alone. Ice is a metaphor for balance and duality. Ice in its duality reflects both danger and beauty. It can preserve and protect, creating stunning landscapes of frozen rivers and shimmering crystals. Yet it can also isolate and chill. This dual nature parallels Skadi's character. She is both fierce and nurturing, independent and protective. Her connection to ice underscores her role as a goddess who balances strength and vulnerability, wildness and wisdom. The seasonal thaw that comes with spring also symbolizes the cycles of life and the necessity of endurance. Skadi's ice, though seemingly eternal, eventually melts to give way to growth and renewal, reminding us that even the most unyielding forces of nature are part of a larger, harmonious cycle. Skadi's modern symbolism of endurance. In contemplative interpretation, Skadi is often seen as a symbol of perseverance and the strength to endure life's hardships. Her icy domain and her ability to thrive within it resonate with those who face challenges, offering a reminder that beauty and strength can emerge even in the harshest conditions. The ice that defines her world becomes a metaphor for the trials we endure and the resilience we discover within ourselves. Skadi's story also speaks to the importance of authenticity and staying true to one's nature. Her return to Thrymheim after her separation from Jord reflects her commitment to her identity, a lesson that continues to inspire those who value independence and self-awareness. In Skadi, we see the power of embracing one's unique strengths and the beauty of standing tall even in solitude. The enduring strength of ice. Skadi's connection to ice and her role as a goddess of endurance remind us of the power found in resilience and adaptability. Ice, like Skadi herself, is both fragile and unbreakable, a force that endures even in the face of change. Through her story, we learn that endurance is not merely surviving, it is thriving with grace, finding beauty in the struggle, and embracing the challenges that shape us into who we are meant to be. The symbolism of ice and endurance, as embodied by Skadi, teaches us to find strength in the coldest seasons of our lives, to stand firm like the frozen peaks and to emerge stronger and more radiant when the thaw finally comes. Skadi's legacy is a reminder that within every winter lies the promise of spring, and within every challenge lies the seed of transformation.